Oh, hello. Welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show. I'm sure many of you guys watched the President's State of the Union address last night, and I watched it kind of in and out. I couldn't hardly. It really bothered me, the State of the Union. I thought that it was a nightmare. I mean, here we heard the president basically say that he didn't need Congress. That's what I heard over and over again. That he was going to go around Congress and legislate laws from the executive branch without Congress. Now, what bothered me so much about that is the president is not part of the legislative branch. There are three branches of government, three of them. There's the legislative branch, the judicial branch, and the executive branch. And the legislative branch, they make the laws. But Obama, he thinks he's part of the legislative branch. Obama thinks that he is a lawmaker. And Obama, he is legislating laws from the executive branch, which is unconstitutional and it's illegal. But the president, he gets away with it. And he's actually legislated a lot of executive orders from the executive branch. And some of them were gun control. Right after, the mass shootings and, last year at the grade school, Obama, he went out there and signed, 20-something gun control executive orders. And then one thing he did, too, is, I don't know, how many of you guys remember the DREAM Act? That was a immigration bill that went through the Congress back in 2009. And the Democrats had control of both houses of Congress at this point. And the Congress voted no. They said, no, we're not going to do this. And this was a Democrat Congress, by the way, that said no. Well, during 2012, the summer of 2012, right before the election, Obama, he did an executive order that made the DREAM Act the law, even after Congress said no. So Congress said no to the DREAM Act, and Obama came out and made the DREAM Act law, from the executive branch. Is Obama a lawmaker? No, he's not. That's what's disturbing about this. Now, I don't have a problem with executive orders. But I do have a problem with Obama's executive orders. And here's why. Because Obama is enforcing executive orders as if they are the law. Now, an executive order is not a law. An executive order is supposed to work only within the executive branch. An executive order is, I guess the best way to explain this is it's like a CEO directing his company, meaning the CEO is saying, this is how I want things to be ran around here, so go get it done, guys. These are the new rules of our company. See, the president, he is the CEO over the executive branch. So an executive order is something that is only within the executive branch. It is not a law that governs the entire country. It is an order that is within the executive branch. It is the president saying, this is how I want the executive branch to run. That is what an executive order is supposed to be. But Obama, he has turned executive orders into the law of the land. An executive order is now a law that governs the entire country. It is now a law that all the states have to abide to, and it is now a law that all the American people have to abide to. And I'm telling you tonight that that is unconstitutional. And last night the president came out and said that he didn't need Congress, that he was going to act on his own, and he was going to act without Congress. Obama said, "I am going to act without Congress wherever and whenever I can." And to me, that is disturbing, because Obama is not a lawmaker. And to me, we are starting to see centralized power in this country. The three branches of government are not as separate as they used to be, especially under this president, lawmaker Obama. You know, Obama is acting like he is the legislator. And Obama's out there telling the American people in a speech, "This is my year of action, and I am going to act without Congress. We're going to get things done. I'm not going to wait for Congress. The American people aren't going to wait for Congress, so I'm going to act on my own. I'm going to use my executive authority to make laws." Now, I actually got a video here. You know, a lot of people are actually, before we get to the video, a lot of people are actually acting all shocked and surprised that, you know, that Obama would kind of skirt the Constitution and become a lawmaker. But it doesn't surprise me at all. I don't think Obama really has reverence for the Constitution. And there's a video I want to show you, and this was basically Obama when he was a senator in Illinois. This is what he said on a radio program.
I think we can say that the Constitution reflected an enormous blind spot in this culture that carries on until this day, and that the framers had that same blind spot. I don't think the two views are contradictory to say that it was a remarkable political document that paved the way for where we are now, and to say that it also reflected the fundamental flaw of this country that continues to this day.
That's amazing to me. You know, here is a president of the United States who said that the Constitution is the fundamental flaw of this country. You know, that disturbs me, especially because the president made a promise to protect and defend the Constitution. Yet he thinks it's the problem. He thinks the Constitution is the problem with this country. And that much is obvious when the president is out there saying that he's going to write laws without Congress and he's going to get things done without Congress. You know, Obama thinks he's part of the legislative branch, but he's not. Obama wants to be part of the legislative branch, but he's not. And somebody needs to stop him and say no. I'm hoping that there are lawsuits over this, and I'm hoping that some of our Republican representatives that don't have backbones will gain a backbone and fight Obama on this, and take him to court over this, write legislation over on this that will prevent Obama from doing this. Really, the Constitution prevents Obama from doing this, but Obama has ignored the Constitution his entire presidency with little opposition. I actually want to play that video again because I find it so amazing, and I think that everybody needs to hear Obama say this, because this is what Obama believes.
I think we can say that the Constitution reflected an enormous blind spot in this culture that carries on until this day, and that the framers had that same blind spot. I don't think the two views are contradictory to say that it was a remarkable political document that paved the way for where we are now, and to say that it also reflected the fundamental flaw of this country that continues to this day.
But isn't that amazing? Here's the president saying that the Constitution is the fundamental flaw of this country. This president doesn't give a rat's crap about the Constitution. And I think that much is reflected by the way he governs. Obama, so far as president, has ignored the separation of powers. When you've got the president legislating laws and making laws, and now going out and declaring that he doesn't even need Congress, you know that the president is ignoring the Constitution. I'm going to put the phone up here. Anybody who wants to call, please call, and let's talk about this. Anybody who has thoughts that they want to express, please call this program. In the meantime, though, I do got more videos to show you guys.
Effective immediately, the Department of Homeland Security is taking steps to lift the shadow of deportation from these young people. Over the next few months, eligible individuals who do not present a risk to national security or public safety will be able to request temporary relief from deportation proceedings and apply for work authorization.
With respect to the notion that I can just suspend deportations through executive order, that's just not the case, because there are laws on the books that Congress has passed, and I know that everybody here at Bell is studying hard, so you know that we've got 3 branches of government. Congress passes the law. The executive branch's job is to enforce and implement those laws, and then the judiciary has to interpret the laws. There are enough laws on the books by Congress that are very clear in terms of how we have to enforce our immigration system, that for me to simply, through executive order, ignore those congressional mandates would not conform with my appropriate role as president.
It is the right thing to do. Excuse me, sir. It's not time for questions, sir. Not while I'm speaking.
Immigration advocates, they wish I could just bypass Congress and change the law myself. But that's not how democracy works. What we really need to do is to keep up the fight to pass genuine, comprehensive reform. That is the ultimate solution to this problem. That's what I'm committed to doing.
Who stood up for them and rallied behind them and pushed us to give them a better path and freedom from fear. Because we are a better nation than one that expels innocent young kids. And the answer to your question, sir, and the next time I prefer you let me finish my statements before you ask that question, is this is the right thing to do for the American people. Baby, I didn't ask for an argument.
That for me to simply, through executive order, ignore those congressional mandates would not conform with my appropriate role as president.
Gets behind this effort. All right? Thank you very much, everybody.
Specifically ruled this out there last year.
So that was the president back in 2011 saying, I can't just issue an executive order, enacting the DREAM Act. I just can't, I can't go and do that. I'm not a lawmaker. If I did that, it would be violating my role as president. See, as you know, we got 3 branches of government. We got the Congress who makes the laws and the president who enforces the law. I can't just go and make the laws. And then the video cuts to the scene of Obama signing the executive order to enact the DREAM Act as the law of the land, even after Congress said no. And even after Obama said he couldn't do it. See, Obama's a hypocrite, you know. He says he can't do something, and then he goes ahead and does it. That's what happened here. The president says, oh, I can't make laws from the executive branch, and then he goes and does it. He goes there and makes a law, even though he's not a lawmaker. See, Obama violated the Constitution that day when he enacted the DREAM Act through executive order, because the president's not a lawmaker. And executive orders are not laws. But our president is legislating laws through executive orders, which is unconstitutional because Barack Obama is not a lawmaker. And now let's skip forward to last night. Last night, the President of the United States came out and declared that he did not need Congress. That he was going to go ahead and move his agenda forward and bypass Congress. That's what Obama promised. He promised that he was going to make laws without Congress. He pretty much said, I don't need Congress. That was President Obama's State of the Union. Last night, Obama went over a variety of issues: minimum wage, government IRA, what was the other one? Gun control and immigration. And there were a few others. But on every one of these issues, the president said, I am going to do this, with or without Congress. I've got a pen, and I've got a phone. And I'm going to sign this stuff into law, with or without Congress. I don't need them. I'm the president, and I've got executive authority. No, you don't. The President of the United States does not have the authority to make laws. And I got one more video to show you guys. This is the last of the videos I got for you.
Hi everybody, I'm Bill Whittle, and in this week's three-part trifecta, we're going to look at what constitutes a reasonable definition of lawlessness, of a dictatorship, and of tyranny. Now today in part one, we'll look at the abuses of the law by the executive branch. In part two, we'll cover the weaponization of the NSA, the IRS, and the DOJ. And in our members-only part three, we'll get to the root of the problem and perhaps a solution. Joining me now to examine the utter contempt for constitutional limits on the executive's authority are the constitutionally strong Scott Ott and the strong constitutioned Steve Green. Welcome, gentlemen. Pleasure to have you with us. Well, President Obama, as we all know, seems to be able, not just willing, but able these days, to arbitrarily just wave a hand and modify existing laws at his personal whim. Now, in order to get some of his more radical appointments past congressional oversight, he declared the Senate to be in recess when the Senate was not in recess. And we've all seen him simply dictate changes to key provisions and deadlines in Obamacare, which, as we know, is the law of the land, but without going through the constitutionally mandated steps of drafting, passing, and signing new legislation to modify the old. So, Steve, if a person has the ability to simply dictate law, what would you call such a person?
Well, I'd have to call them a real dictator.
How about that?
I don't know that we've quite elevated to that level yet, but you know, this is, if it's not a dictatorship, we still have elections and those things, but this is tyranny as it was understood by our founding fathers. This is tyranny where one man can make these kind of decisions. Look, there was a very little reported story just last week out of Wyoming. The EPA, not the Bureau of Indian Affairs, not the State Department, the EPA transferred 1 million acres of Wyoming to one of the Indian reservations. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but just unilaterally did this. Was this a power the EPA was somehow given by our treaty with one of the Indian nations? What's going on here? We don't know. What we do know is Wyoming is suddenly 1 million acres smaller, and that's a violation of the rights of the people of Wyoming. But the thing we have to remember, what we've witnessed here, and this has been going on for 100 years, but especially in the last 50, is Congress, in order to avoid having to hold unpopular votes, transferring more and more of its powers and its obligations to the executive branch on purpose. So what the Republicans have to remember is if they don't like Obama pressing all these levers of power, they helped hand them to him.
Yeah, that's a really excellent point. Excellent point, Steve. Well, Scotty, noted constitutional scholar Barack Obama recently said during a staff meeting, quote, "One of the things that I'll be emphasizing in this meeting is the fact that we are not just going to be waiting for legislation in order to make sure that we're providing the American people with the kind of help that they need. I've got a pen and I've got a phone." Well, Scott, the president has a pen. Why can't he just write law? What would you call the actions of an executive sworn to defend the Constitution when he simply ignores the representatives of the people and the rules of the Constitution by just bypassing the legislative and going on with executive orders?
Well, see, I don't know why people are so upset about this quote, because actually I was kind of excited about it, because he said he was going to provide the American people with what they need. He's got a pen and he's got a phone. In my world, that means he's going to take a pizza order and deliver it to me, because that's what I need, and those are the only two tools he needs to be able to take that order.
He's
so
not
I'm pumped
qualified
about that. And Steve, as for that Indian reservation thing, I've got a 10-square-mile territory along the Potomac River that I'd like to unilaterally hand over to some Native American tribe and see what they could do with it. That would be useful. Bill, I think
couldn't do any worse.
The problem... That's right. I think the problem with tyranny is that it doesn't come in, it doesn't kick the door down. It's kind of like, the devil. The devil is not some, red body, pointy tail with ears and a little goatee who looks obvious when he arrives and tempts you and cackles maniacally. The devil is smooth, he's suave, he's well-dressed, he's alluring. And that's the problem with tyranny. It comes little by little. It comes in pleasant forms. And you don't even notice it until you're so far gone. And next thing you know, you're in the manacles of 4 and you're going, what happened?
It's kind of true for devil and for vampires, right? You have to invite them in, I think. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't use these terms flippantly or lightly. If Barack Obama thinks he can simply look at sinking poll numbers and basically force entire sectors of the economy into total disarray simply by dictating changes and amendments, or dictating that, in his opinion, the Senate is in recess when it's clearly not in recess, then any such person is, by reasonable definition to me, a dictator. And for a man who supposedly taught constitutional law to announce that he's going to create laws he likes, totally disregarding the will of the people through their elected representatives, then that man, by any reasonable definition, is a tyrant. Any questions? For PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle.
So I thought that video was a very good explanation of basically what we've been talking about tonight, that the president is not a lawmaker, that he is really stepping outside of his bounds as president. And I got to tell you guys, I think this is impeachable. I mean, he is clearly violating the United States Constitution. Last night, he made a number of announcements of things he was going to enact with executive orders, and one of them he said that he was going to do today. So today, the president created a brand new government-backed IRA. That's right, a brand new government IRA, and guess what? The president did this without Congress. The president just created a brand new entitlement without the United States Congress. Doesn't that disturb you? In the past, entitlements and crap like that had to be passed by Congress. President thinks he could do them on his own these days. In fact, the new IRA, maybe we should call it the Obama IRA, I don't know, but the new IRA is called My RA. That's what Obama's named it, is My RA. But I think people will probably call it Obama's IRA or Obama IRA, kind of like Obamacare, you know. So the people know who started that crap. And it's a new entitlement, and entitlements usually don't work. They're disasters. I mean, look at Obamacare. They don't even have enough money to properly fund it. And the rest of the government's entitlements are going bankrupt. And, you know, there's Obama's Obama phone program out there. The Obama phone's gone bankrupt too. The last I heard, the Obama phone didn't even have enough money to sustain the program. They were already having trouble with that. And to tell you the truth, I don't know hardly anybody that's actually gotten an Obama phone. And they can't afford it. I'm sure there's people out there that have gotten one, but I do not know very many people. Most people go get their phone at Verizon Wireless. So I don't know what the purpose was in creating a government cell phone entitlement. You know, a lot of these entitlements are just pointless. You know, it's just socialism. That's all it is. Let's take from the rich and give to the poor. It's Robin Hood. But I got to tell you, it is not the government's job to play Robin Hood. It isn't. It is not the government's job to take private property from one man and give it to another. In fact, our Constitution says that we have private property rights, and we have property rights in this country. You know, the government can't just come and take away your property, but they do it. They do it. They come and take away your hard-earned money, which is your property, and they give it to someone else who they think needs it more. And that is wrong, and that is socialism. Don't get me wrong, I believe in charity, but I believe we, the people, on a personal and individual level, need to be charitable. The government cannot force us to be charitable. James Madison, the father of the Constitution, he said that charity has no place in government. Charity has no place in government. Remember that, folks. The father of the Constitution said it is not the government's job to do charity. It is we the people's job. It is my job. It is my neighbor's job. And I say let's unite together and let's help people.